As war had broken out in the Middle East, Canadians caught in the middle of it were trying to get out and looking for help from our Canadian government. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me is Brian Lilley and Warren Kinsella. Brian, there is a bit of a backstory here. As the bombs were dropping, Canadians trying to get in touch with the embassy were missing in action. And this is a very twisted and bizarre story that takes some twists and turns that I think you need to explain.
Yeah, in full credit to Matt Gurney, our former colleague from National Post, who's now editor over at The Line, because he's the one who broke this and really filled it out. But Canadians in Israel or family members of Canadians in Israel started complaining over the weekend, saying we can't get in touch with the embassy. There's a war going on. We need to get out. We need help, and nobody's answering. And the Trudeau government insisted that the embassy was open, as Canadians on the ground were saying, the embassy's closed, we've got a problem. They insisted that no, it's open. And then they started to use the term it's operational. And Gurney was dogged in trying to find out what that meant. And the government wouldn't answer. And then it turns out that at a briefing with MPs yesterday, the MPs were told that, yeah, the embassy was closed Saturday and Sunday, and it opened on Monday. Why the government was lying to the public repeatedly, saying it was open, is beyond me. Look, there could be very good security reasons for why the embassy wasn't open. Maybe it wasn't safe for staff to get there. I understand it's a long weekend and maybe people had left town and they've got to pivot and scramble and get back to work. The operations center in Ottawa in any emergency is always going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but you do need people on the ground. Telling people that it's open when it's not is just foolish. And it shows that this government is willing to lie to you just to look good. It's willing to lie to you because it thinks it has a comms problem. Tell us the truth. Tell us, look, it's not safe. We're trying our best, and here's what we're doing. Don't lie to the public when they can verify that it's not true.
Warren, I find it such an odd thing to lie about or mislead us about, or even question those Canadians that were very public and saying, I'm trying, where families are trying to get some answers here. Then we see Anthony Housefather tweet that it is indeed operational. Interesting, words he chose.
But he actually said open. He said open, and so did others in the government.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, Warren, like, why the weasel words? Like, why would they do this? This is
that is the question. It's like any whodunit. It's motive. Why would they do something like this? Why? It's just so dumb, and it's so easily exposed as a lie. Why would they do it? It's because we've become a bit player on the international stage, and we become a bit player on this story. As we've seen with the meeting of the so-called Quint, which Brian has written about, and I think we're going to talk about. Canada has been relegated to the sidelines internationally, not just respect to what's happening in Israel, but China and India and so on. And the reason why that's happened is Justin Trudeau's government has reduced so much diplomacy and so much of international relations to performance. It's like drama. It's like a high school play. That's the way they treat it. And nobody should be surprised that other nations in the world then don't treat us seriously in turn. Like on a regular basis now, international, among our allies, meetings and exercises about defense and surveillance and intelligence are taking place, and Canada is being excluded. And that's never happened before this government, because this government is not serious. And so, again, I think they just felt, look, well, we'll lie about the embassy being closed and we'll get away with it because nobody really cares, because we don't care. But people do care. And now Canadians are being airlifted out of Israel because of the terrible situation taking place there.
Brian, we have two wars going on around the world right now. Canada is really nowhere to be found. And where is the Prime Minister in all of this?
He's hiding out in the Northwest Territories and might be going to the Yukon next. He's not holding media availabilities. He's not taking questions. Yes, there are media outlets up there. Both there's newspapers up there. There are TV networks have cameras up there, and there's always press that travel with him. But he's not taking questions. He's Mr. Invisible in this. Maybe because he doesn't want to answer questions about our bad response or the fact that he wasn't invited by Joe Biden. And why would Biden invite us into this conversation with serious allies on this? You look at what Trudeau said, unprompted, at his news conference closing out the G20. A reporter just asked him a straight up question. What did Canada contribute to the communique? At the end of these events, they always put out a communique. Here's what we talked about. Here's what we did. Trudeau's answer was gendered language. That's what he started with. What did Canada contribute to a meeting of the 20 biggest economies in the world? Gendered language. Is that the guy you're going to invite to a meeting to talk about how to respond to a massive terrorist attack that has led to a new war breaking out? No, we don't need to talk about gendered language. Don't call Justin, don't invite him. Liberals have been grasping at straws all week trying to say, well, this is because we're not a nuclear power. This is because of this, because of that. No, we're not being invited anymore because, as Warren said, we're not serious about diplomacy. Canada's back was Trudeau's slogan, and nothing could be further from the truth.
It is absolutely embarrassing and shameful, Warren, last word to you, what Trudeau Liberals have done to our reputation on the international stage. Has it ever been this bad?
No, it hasn't. No, you think back to Harper, you think back to Chrétien, even Paul Martin, Brian Mulroney, doing what he did on apartheid, Chrétien with his Team Canada stuff, Harper with his trade deals. They were serious prime ministers. They were serious leaders. And they were invited to these meetings, notwithstanding, our small contribution to NATO, notwithstanding our small comparative size to our allies. We were invited to those meetings and taken seriously. And I work for a prime minister because they considered his counsel to be wise and worthwhile and worth listening to. It's just not happening anymore. And so that's why, I think we've been reduced to just fighting over symbols this week after the terrible events in Israel, because nobody's inviting us to the big kids table. We're sitting somewhere else. And I don't think it's going to change until Justin Trudeau is gone.
It's absolutely humiliating and shameful, Canada's diminished role on the international stage. Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Go to thetorontosun.com and hit that subscribe button. You're going to find stories and coverage that you will not find anywhere else.